Iran is closer than ever to building a nuclear bomb than they've ever been, and Victor Davis Hanson says the regime is collapsing under pressure from every side. In this clip, he lays out 3 brutal options Trump may face, and none of them are easy. But one thing is clear. Iran's days of bluffing might be over. I sure pray that they are.
The Houthis sent a missile over and hit Israel. America responded with a couple of missiles, and now the Israelis are engaged in dropping some bombs on Yemen. And then we have Donald Trump talking about Iran and how he would like to see Iran's nuclear program dismantled, which was unclear earlier this week where he stood. So, Victor, a big ball of Middle East stuff. Take it away.
Yes, his special Mideast envoy, Mr. Stephen Witkoff, excuse me.
Yes.
Stephen Witkoff has given so many mixed signals, Jack, about 60% enrichment, 70, 80, 90, and I think they need to make this clear that Iran has the 5th largest fossil fuels as defined by gas and oil in the world, and they don't have that large of a population. In other words, they don't need any other source of energy for the rest of their existence. So when they want a nuclear program, it is for one purpose: to enrich uranium up to 90%, to get enough enriched uranium to build 10 or 12 bombs. I don't know how many of those they already have, maybe 1 or 2, and then to put them, find a way to miniaturize them, to put them on Chinese or North Korean supplied missiles, so that they can tell Israel, if you do this or that, we're going to take you out, and then act as crazy as they are. And that's not acting, they are crazy, so that at any moment, to quote the former prime minister, Mr. Rafsanjani, they can say, you're a one-bomb state. Everybody knows that. So why are we negotiating with them? We're negotiating with them for a variety of reasons. Number one, the MAGA doctrine is no optional military use of force in the Middle East. That's clear. That's what he ran on. That is the Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, you name it, wing. That's what's behind the fight with Pete Hegseth and the people who were removed. They may have been leaking that Pete was under the capture of the neoconservatives. There are no neoconservatives. I don't know anymore. They don't exist, in the sense that they want to nation build and slay dragons all over the world. But nevertheless, that's the problem, number one. Number two, Donald Trump does want to be a Nobel laureate. I don't mean that in a deprecatory fashion at all. He's done enormous things already with the Ukraine war. We're closer than any moment in the Biden administration. He would like to be the person who denuclearizes Iran. The problem is that the people he's dealing with make Vladimir Putin look rational. They're crazy. And he knows that right now, in this window, at this moment, he has more leverage than any other president has had in the half century into which these fanatics came into power. There is no Assad Arab receptacle for their terrorist money and arms to disperse. There is no Hezbollah to speak of for another year, maybe. There is no Hamas. They're in the tunnels. And the Houthis may send a missile, but they are scattered. And Iran has no air defenses. Israel proved that to the world. So if Donald Trump wants to take out its nuclear facilities, he can do it with minimal risk. So can Israel. That's a lot of pressure. So he thinks that he's going to tell them, this is your last chance over the next couple of months. You can negotiate a deal with us, and you will get to keep your regime. But we do not want you to send money to the Middle East, all of your tentacles. They're cut off. And I just don't believe they're ever going to do that. That's their reason to be. And they're very unpopular. So now the question is maximum pressure. Are you going to keep pressuring them and pressuring them? They have power outages. They have minority resistance. They have popular pushed back, but none of that in the past 50 years, even the Green Revolution that Obama basically ignored or wanted to fail, they've never been able to overthrow that government because it runs by terror. And I don't think they will be able to. So sometime at the end of the year, one of two things will happen. They will feel the squeeze so much that they will try to cut a deal. And if they do cut a deal, I can guarantee you they will break the deal in some manner or other. That's who they are. Or Donald Trump will do one of three things. He will tell the Israelis, whatever's in your interest, go ahead and do it, and we will keep the Chinese and the Russians out, and the North Koreans. You can do what you want. Or he will join a joint force with Israel. That'll be a little tricky if he does that. Or he will just do it himself. And we kind of see that, Jack, with the Houthi reply. Israel's going to reply, and we are going to reply, but they're not joint operations. They're separate. And I don't know quite, I think the Houthis' status is more like Hamas. They're burrowed deep, they're disconnected, but they don't have a big command and control center and one big depot. They've scattered everything everywhere, and they're getting down to a small number of weapons. But the idea that this hypersonic missile, and they bragged about it, they said it was a hypersonic missile, and they said they were able to shut down the Ben Gurion airport, and they did for a few hours, and they said they'll do it again. No nation, no sovereign nation, no autonomous nation can have that happen. You can't have an entity say you can't have an airport. That's the whole nexus of travel and commerce. So they're going to have to deal with that. And the only way to deal with the Houthis is cut off the supply of where they're getting these weapons. And they're only getting the weapons from one place, and that is Iran. So you either have to deal with removing the regime in Iran or destroying all of their depots and their ability to make these missiles. That's where we are. And Donald Trump's going to have a problem within the MAGA rank. I wrote that article in New Criterion when he assumed office about the contradictions in MAGA between being a Jacksonian and a neo-isolation, a Buchananite or a Ron Paulite. And that's a lot of people. But he proved in the first administration, when he bombed the proverbial blank out of ISIS, when he killed Mr. Baghdadi, when he got rid of Soleimani, when he wiped out the Wagner Group, that he is perfectly capable of retaliatory, responsive strikes to ensure U.S. deterrence. And I think that's what he'll do. I think he'll negotiate all summer long, and at some point it'll dawn on him that they're playing him. And then he will then bring in his commanders and say, what is the feasibility? And they'll say, if you're ever going to do this, this is the year to do it. Because the surrogates are, they're cut off from the octopus head, and they're flopping around on the deck. They can't do anything. They can't hurt anybody right now. And it's an unpopular regime. It's just a matter of then how you do it. Do you do everything? Do you take out the nuclear enrichment sites? Do you try to bomb anything you think might be a depot of one or two stray bombs that are somewhere in the country? Do you take out the port facilities and spike oil prices? Do you take out all of its military capability? And what degree of punishment do you inflict on the Iranian people, if any? So these are all complex questions.
They sure are very complex questions. He adds a lot of very interesting insight. I really appreciate listening to Victor Davis Hanson. A good perspective. And the question is, why is the president negotiating with Iran, period? And my hope is that he wants to, he would love to resolve issues, world issues, diplomatically through negotiation, not through war, which he said many times, trusting that that's the case. I think also that when he negotiates and he puts the other party in a position where they are going to have to either show up or they're going to expose themselves. That's just my thinking. Of course, I don't know. And this way, he's done that with Putin as well, where he puts him in a position, okay, we're going to show up for peace. And when he doesn't show up, then it's all on him. He's stuck in a position which they don't like to be stuck in, these tyrants, where they have to expose that they're really not showing up to actually resolve the issue. And then in that case, that gives him ever more power and more justification and more backing, really, from even people who are not aligned with the president, to say there is no choice but to attack. Hopefully that's going to be the case. It's very hard, as he says, to imagine that Iran would come to an agreement, and even if they do, there's no way they're going to keep to it. But he's holding a hard line on what the agreement has to be, and that should be hard enough. That's what we need. That absolutely no nuclear power. And as the president said, with a country that has so much energy because they have so much oil, why in the world would they need nuclear energy for civil purposes? There's absolutely no reason for it. The whole thing is a fraud. See, he really speaks very openly in exposing them. And I believe it will need to come to either Israel or America or both, as he said, destroying the nuclear sites in Iran. And I hope we see that soon, before it's too late.